What is air pollution? Air pollution is contamination of the indoor or outdoor environment by any chemical, physical, or biological agent that modifies the natural characteristics of the atmosphere. Motor vehicles are common sources of air pollution. Transport accounts for around 30% of global carbon emissions, and 72% of these emissions come from road transportation. Pollutants of major public health concern include particulate matter, carbon monoxide, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and volatile organic compounds. Outdoor and indoor air pollution cause respiratory and other diseases and are important sources of morbidity and mortality. The emitted gas and the effects to human. Particulate matter, PM. One type of particulate matter is the soot seen in vehicle exhaust. Pose a serious threat to human health, as they can penetrate deep into the lungs. PM can be a primary pollutant or a secondary pollutant from hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxides. Diesel exhaust is a major contributor to PM pollution. Volatile organic compounds. These pollutants react with nitrogen oxides in the presence of sunlight to form ground-level ozone, a main ingredient in smog. This gas irritates the respiratory system, causing coughing, choking, and reduced lung capacity. Volatile organic compounds emitted from cars, trucks, and buses, which include the toxic air pollutants benzene, acetaldehyde, and 1,3-butadiene, are linked to different types of cancer. Nitrogen oxides. These pollutants form ground-level ozone and particulate matter, secondary. Also harmful as a primary pollutant, nitrogen oxides can cause lung irritation and weaken the body's defenses against respiratory infections such as pneumonia. Carbon monoxide. This odorless, colorless, and poisonous gas is formed by the combustion of fossil fuels such as gasoline and is emitted primarily from cars and trucks. When inhaled, carbon monoxide blocks oxygen from the brain, heart, and other vital organs. Sulfur dioxide. Motor vehicles create this pollutant by burning sulfur-containing fuels, especially diesel and coal. Sulfur dioxide can react in the atmosphere to form fine particles and, as other air pollutants, poses the largest health risk to young children and asthmatics. Ozone. Motor vehicles emit pollutants, predominantly carbon dioxide, that contribute to global climate change. In fact, tailpipe emissions from cars, trucks, and buses account for over 1/5 of the United States' total global warming pollution. Transportation, which includes in airplanes, trains, and ships, accounts for around 30% of all heat-trapping gas emissions. Relationship between transportation and air pollution. Cars, trucks, and buses powered by fossil fuels are major contributors to air pollution. In fact, transportation emits more than half of nitrogen oxides in our air, and is a major source of global warming emissions in the US. Studies have linked pollutants from vehicle exhaust to adverse impacts on nearly every organ system in the body. While this air pollution carries significant risks for human health and the environment, through clean vehicle and fuel technologies, we can significantly reduce emissions from our cars and trucks, and help transform transportation. Cars, trucks, and buses produce air pollution throughout their life cycle, including pollution emitted during vehicle operation and fuel production. Additional emissions are associated with refining and distribution of fuels and, to a lesser extent, manufacturing and disposal of the vehicle. Solutions to reduce transport emissions. Shifting out of cars and onto public transport. Expanding access to high-quality public transport is a proven way to reduce car use and its associated emissions. People who live in communities with accessible public transport tend to own fewer vehicles, drive less, and rely more on public transport than other areas. Littman 2010. Rail-based transport, trains and light rail, trams, has the greatest impact on reducing car dependence. McIntosh et al. 2014. 100% renewable powered electric vehicles. Electrifying our transport, and powering it by 100% renewable energy is critical for positioning on the road to zero emissions. Electric cars run on electricity and plug-in rechargeable batteries. The source of electricity for electric cars charging is critical to reducing emissions. Electric vehicles powered entirely on renewable energy have negligible emissions, compared to an average new car. Mandatory emission standards. Mandatory greenhouse gas emission standards for cars now cover 80% of the global car market. The lack of mandatory emission standards here has meant that in 2015, the sooner mandatory emission standards are introduced, and rapidly strengthened, the greater the impact. Mandatory emission standards can give wider benefits.